you. Everybody's doing all right today or tonight, depending on where you might be in this wonderful world of ours. We're just going to make sure that the live stream's on before I get started.
Folder view list.
This is not a flight,
RS Games Client 40.
so
Restream chat 7 of 67.
you don't have
App
to worry
start
about that. I'm going to open up the
Normal cursor.
Restream chat.
App start cursor. Normal cursor.
That way,
Restream chat
you
row 1
guys
column.
can chat with us
1.
if
App
you
start cursor. Type.
choose to.
To message. Edit blank.
I will ask you to please keep it about the stream. Let's not talk about things that are not connected to
Normal cursor.
simming or flying. I mean, if you want to talk about, a pilot that you watched a video on and he messed this up, whatever. But all pilot / flying, simming, all that stuff. All right. With that said, you can also follow us on Twitter at BVI Pilots. That's Bravo Victor India Pilots. And of course here on YouTube, BVI Pilots here. And I also stream this on Facebook as well. I try to stream it everywhere I can because
Ops 27.2 of the Hangout team top 5
we
classic
obviously
beat.
want to get out
Channel
there to
list.
people and,
Preview the cooldown. Level
all
1
that
private
good
rooms.
stuff.
0.
So,
Level 0 the cooldown. Level the Hangout. 2. Level 2 Brandon. Normal
I've
cursor.
got Brandon with us. I'm
Brandon
actually
select
going
John
to
level
grab
2.
me and Brandon.
John selected for
and I'm
move.
going to
That's
move
some online
us.
stream stand podcast. Flight sim training stand. That's some online stand. Flight sim
I
training.
think I'll move it down here to...
That's some online streaming. Ask 0. Lock level 2. Selected users has been moved to channel.
We'll just move it to the streaming. There we go.
Yeah, that'll work.
Perfect. So, title, as it says, talked about what makes you a good pilot. We're going to talk about some of the things that you need to kind of turn into habits. Whether that means making sure you do this or do that, and what can really ruin you as a decent pilot, even simming. Folks, I mean, flying in the sim, yes, it's different because you're not in the real thing, but it's still you being a pilot in the sim. There's a lot of similarities, and there's a lot of things that are realistic about it. Okay, but either way, it's still you being a pilot. So I don't want someone to say, well, this is a sim. You're not really. Look, you're a pilot in the sim. When you look up pilot, it does not say a man who flies in a plane that is actually in the sky. No. Okay? So.
I've had that comment about, well, if you're in the sim, you're not a real pilot. I'm like, no.
No, you're right. You're not a real pilot as far as flying outside the sim in a real thing. But you're still a version of a pilot. You're a simming pilot.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that could go all day. People could argue with that all day long, and it probably wouldn't get through. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to, kind of when I first started. There was so much happening, so many things that, ran through my mind on far as what I needed to learn and how was I going to do this and how was I going to do that. And once I got in the cockpit, that's when everything changed. Everything. So time kind of stopped for a minute, and I said, well, this isn't what I expected. I expected it to be absolutely overwhelming, and it wasn't. But it can be, and I don't want to see that happen. That's why we're doing this video. One of the first tips I'm going to give you, stepping in as a new pilot in the sim, is to take your time.
Yep.
Don't overwhelm yourself with everything at once. Take your time. Let me give you another tip about that. If you jump in the sim and you learn everything real fast and you're just pushing all of it, as quick and as hard as you can,
You're going to forget things.
you're going to burn yourself out.
Exactly.
Simming is to enjoy, to have fun, a place for you to go and relax. If you do that,
Fun.
it's not going to be fun no more. Um, there's a lot of different things you can learn in flying. You know, you might start flying in sim and find that you don't like to fly the small planes at all. That you're not a Cessna or a Bonanza or any. You just don't like that kind of flying. And you know what? That's okay. You're allowed to make that choice. You jump in a PMDG and you say, you know what? Wow, I love this. That's your choice. Whatever you're going to learn, though, take it in steps, you guys. On this specific topic, Brandon, you got any advice or anything you want to point out to them about, about learning to fly and getting started and all that?
I would definitely say when you're first getting started, especially if you learn some of the payware aircraft, if you choose to go that route, like I'm going to do when I get up and running soon, practice, practice, practice. I can't stress it enough. Practice makes perfect. And I had to do that a lot too when I started, because I started way back when we had limited options in freeware. And I gotta say, when you started, you actually came in at a really good, reasonable time, because if you were to come in when I did in 2016, and when Josh did, and when some of these others did, you would have been like, man, how come we can only fly this many aircraft? And you would get tired of flying the same aircraft over and over and over and be like, man, I wish we could fly different ones.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us did that. So you came in at a really, really good, opportune time and a really good era, a year in flight simming. So
yeah, well,
practice.
Yeah, because P3D came out with a lot of planes.
They did.
I mean, I'll show you guys here in a minute. I'll load P3D and just show you all the. I'm not gonna go through every one of them. Like, I'm not gonna load each one. I'm just gonna go down the list and say, there's this and this.
It's amazing
to give you an idea. But find your area that you love when it comes to, do you like? Because everybody that flies, anybody I've ever met, they have their favorite plane. For example, before, not counting PMDG, Brandon, what's your favorite plane?
Well, my favorite plane for domestic was the 737 TDS that we had, and for my transatlantic flights, which those are my specialty, as some of you may know, I love to fly the big 777 whenever I can to do oceanic crossings, and the 380 is a good one too. So I like both of those aircraft for long transatlantic flights.
Mm-hmm. I remember George giving us a plane that was, it used to be payware and it turned into freeware.
Freeware. Mm-hmm.
Remember? And
that was a really good aircraft.
I don't remember which one it was, but that was a nice aircraft. And just to clear up for people that might not know, I know that, like, 2020's out, and, people think that, they hear about 2020 and P3D not doing. Folks, several people still use P3D, and I'm still seeing, different types of planes coming into P3D, being updated and modified. So continue to fly with P3D if you choose to. Okay?
Yeah, I've been hearing this thing about, I've heard a few say, oh, why use P3D? It's old, it's the past, 2020 is the future, and it's like,
yep.
If people want to fly with P3D, that's their choice. Like, they can do that too. I mean, it's no less, it's not like you're being left out of flying because you're flying with an older sim. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with flying P3D.
No, not at all. Um, and the nice thing about, flying on the Sim 2 is once you start learning to fly. Now, and I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody because I'm not. I think that I'm an advanced learner at times from depending on what it is with the with different things.
That sim.
Yeah, because I came in and Brandon and Josh started showing me how to fly. Then I met Declan, and then he was adding his tips and they're showing me stuff. And then not even a month into flying, I went up on VATSIM. And I contacted Brandon and I said, hey, I'm going up on VATSIM. I'm getting ready to do a flight. And Brandon's like, what?
No, I think your first words to me when you called me were, and I quote, guess what I'm about to do? And I'm like...
Or no, I had just done one.
You had just done one, and you had said to me, and I quote, guess what I just did? I said, I don't know, what did you just do? And he says, I just flew my first flight on VATSIM, and I'm like, oh, come on. Yeah, now that's just really wanting me to get out of my comfort zone. That's embarrassing. I've been flying here since 2016, and here I am. I haven't logged one single flight on VATSIM. That's got to change. So, that's gotten me out of my comfort zone, and I'm proud to say I've completed several flights on VATSIM, and I got a pretty good amount of hours now, and I plan to do it again when I get back into the air. So
yeah, and I love flying on VATSIM, and I want to cover that area a little bit. I want to go into some more detail on flying on VATSIM because there's so much that is happening, and number one, it's not for everybody. That's number one.
I'll definitely say that. It's definitely not for everybody.
Tyler Chambliss. Yeah, VATSIM is awesome. Restream.io. Trophy, congratulations. You've received 100 messages today with Restream chat.
Let me fix this.
Level 3 granted.
Okay.
John level 3.
I gotta say though, after you did that first flight, you actually got a few of us out of our comfort zones of flying VATSIM. I wasn't the only one.
I remember getting you and Josh. You all really started doing VATSIM after that, and then we started doing stuff together. And VATSIM, I think that everybody should be able to do VATSIM, unless you're not really flying a lot, because I kind of see it like, if you're flying in a plane, why in the world can't you figure out how to talk on VATSIM? It's like being a pilot, but not ever having to learn how to communicate with the airports, But some people do it for just, for fun. They treat it less serious than we do.
Right. I try to fly, whenever I can, I try to fly on VATSIM because you're absolutely right. Why in the world, if you're going to do a flight, why would you not want to communicate with the airports and to air traffic control? And I think it keeps, if you're learning things like how to go direct to waypoints, how to do things in the air, how to land, how to approach, it keeps you up on your toes and practicing, hey, this is what I need to do. Or if you mess up, this is what I need to do to improve for the next flight. I use those as teaching moments, even if I do mess up.
Yeah, now granted, I'm not saying that everybody, that you guys should indeed fly on VATSIM. If you don't want to, that's fine. But
if you don't want to, you don't have to.
Let me just say this, though. If you're going to, don't treat it like it's just a game, because that's where you're going to have a lot of people tell you, look, there's a lot of, real pilots go on VATSIM, and they use it to, to practice with. It's a good way to practice communication. So don't go on VATSIM acting a fool. Okay?
No, please don't do that.
And I'm that's excuse me, that's for your sake. Okay? If you don't want a bad reputation, then, be responsible and be mature. Especially if you're going to be a part of any community in the flying community, whether it's BVI or whoever. The minute you start doing that, people's not going to want you. So, it's important that
And
you.
if we take you on a flight as well on VATSIM, if you're
Folder.
on the first flight with
Pilot
one
2
of
8,
us,
person 1
please
Pro,
don't freak out.
R3 DV.
You get directions with IFR clearances, because I had one person that did that one time, and oh man, this is going to be a
Gold
long
Wave, GM, Google
flight.
Chrome. App Start Cursor.
What I'm going to do too is I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to give you guys just a test, just a
Normal cursor.
little.
FS RAM for MSFS 11 not selected 1 of
Let
67.
me get
Explorer.
it pulled up here.
Start button. Start tooltip. VATSIM online free stream chat row 1 column 2.
I've
Ops
done
27
so
point
many
star untitled
IFR
new tab Google
requests
Chrome
and
row 1 column
departure
5.
requests. I can do them in my sleep. I can still do them, even though I haven't been on in
YouTube.
almost a year.
What's that? Oh,
The request to get clearance.
yeah. I mean,
from the
it's
airport.
you basically give your call sign
Normal
and
cursor.
say such and such, requesting,
Requesting
IFR clearance
Heathrow or
to,
wherever you're going.
yeah, IFR clearance to Miami or, wherever. That is the first thing you're going to say, to get, to get the ball going. Because from there they're going to tell you what runway. Now someone had asked me an interesting question, and I'll go ahead and answer on here in case you ask it, or if you're wondering, can you do pushbacks? Yes, you can. You can
Yes.
tell them. Now, I believe there's some of the other countries, they're not picky about it. You can just go ahead and do it. Others are. You've got a request to
I know
push back.
Europe, and especially Heathrow, I've seen it. They're very strict about that. You've got to do a pushback at Heathrow.
And you got to be. Some require you to be shut down, engine shut down. Others, they don't care if you've already got the jet, up and running. I remember when I first started doing VATSIM, and here I am. I'm doing getting in my cockpit and going through my checklist, and I'm completely starting up the jet. And now I don't do that. I start out with the jet off, and I don't just start up the jet. We used to. We used to just get the jet and fire it up. And then we request a pushback, and that's actually the wrong way to do that.
That's the wrong way to do it.
If you're going to do a pushback, generally the rule is you don't start your jet anyways while you're, up by the gate like that.
When you're pushing back, you don't,
Now, while you're pushing back, as you're being pulled out onto the, wherever you're at,
taxiway.
they pull you out onto the taxiway. Once you're so far away from your gate, then you start your engines. I try to get mine started and up and running before the pushback's completely over. That way, when they get me to where they're pulling me, my jet's up and running, and then I just got to go through some more checklists, and then, from there I can go on out to my runway. Given that ATC is, gave me clearance to do so. Another important area for VATSIM is if you're at an airport and they're very busy. Don't get to where you're frustrated and you start getting rude with them and you're like, well, they're not making me priority. Trust me, we understand priority. And at some point, they do have to get to you. Now, if they're skipping you on purpose, contact your supervisor on VATSIM. I'm trying to remember. There was a command you could use right from your.
Dot wallops, I believe it was.
Spell that.
I believe it's WALLOUPS. I'm not sure. I think get the correct phonetic spelling of it.
That'd be pronounced as wall loops.
Whiskey.
WALLOUPS. Yeah. Just try, you can also Google it.
I don't know how it's actually spelled. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can Google it.
I think you're right though, Brandon. But let's take a look here. I'm gonna
YouTube.
let me
Clickables. Search landmark. Search edit.
let's do VATSIM.
And yes, I have encountered situations, especially when there have been
Main
big
landmark.
events where I've had to
Clickable
wait
P3D more traffic than a VATSIM event. PMDG7.
30
Clickable
minutes
man pilot.
for
Airplane man pilot.
clearance
Clickable
requests.
P3D Hong Kong. VHHH. Heathrow. ETLL. VATSIM PMDG P777 300 ER 32 by London controller 5 months ago.
Now here's a London controller.
Tyler Chambliss.
This is
The
a
command is WALLOP. Write all operators.
WALLOP. I don't-
WALLOPS.
Tyler, I don't think. No, you do not got to type in all operators. That's
No.
that part you don't got to put in. Anyway, I've got a video here. We're going to listen just for a couple seconds
Heading level 3 link P3D.
to give you an idea of VATSIM.
HTTPS.
So we'll listen to this guy. It's probably going to have an ad. Wonderful YouTube and their ads.
Good evening,
Yeah,
guys.
gotta
Hope
love
you're doing
the
well.
ads.
Welcome back to
No ad.
another
Clickable main
P3D
landmark.
video. Thank you.
All right.
Clickable make button
again
graphic
for
chat
the
seat
amazing
sliders button
support
pause.
in the
K.
previous video. The response that we received from that was absolutely immense. So thank you. Thank you so much.
So
for
let's
that. I
have a
really do
listen
appreciate
here to this guy.
it.
Button next.
Yeah,
Button pause. Seat
definitely
slider
a few
sliders.
more coming up.
Seat
Let's
we're
Tyler
gonna
forward.
Zero
forward
minutes.
to London
0 minutes.
for the
I was
flight.
telling you
Zero
what it
minutes.
stands for
0
and
minutes,
telling you
36
how to
minutes,
spell it.
Video.
0 minutes.
Make sure you do go and check that out.
Yeah,
That
I
was
caught
our
that,
first full
Tyler.
video.
About spelling
and
it.
if you don't know about the concept, obviously we're not doing
0 minutes 55.
YouTube in
0 minutes 57.
in terms of full.
1 minute.
I'm
four-
just
1 minute
gonna
5
move this
seconds.
forward
1 minute.
against
1
it.
minute 11
I
seconds.
have got the
1 minute. 1 minute.
See if you got
Well,
ATC going here.
One
One of
minute.
the other guys is in.
1 minute.
At the moment at Hong Kong,
2 minutes.
it
1 second.
is
2 minutes.
about 5 o'clock
So
in
this
the morning.
guy's in Hong Kong.
So
2 minutes.
yeah,
20. 2 minutes. 20. 2 minutes.
level of
2 minutes.
Yep.
2
up
minutes.
to London Heathrow
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
the lights.
2 minutes.
London Heathrow.
Yeah, before we do get
2
set
minutes
up,
50.
what I'll do is I'll just show you a quick little brief of the route. From the previous video, people said that they wanted to see sort of a little brief on what we were doing and stuff like that. So we're not going to talk through the brief. We're just
No.
3
tonight
minutes.
is
3
going to
minutes.
take
3 minutes.
tomorrow morning
3
for a
3
couple of times.
We
So
want
hopefully you guys
VATSIM, so come on.
140
4 minutes.
and push
4
without
minutes.
too many issues.
4 minutes 30.
And the engine
4
will
minutes.
actually
4 minutes.
already shut the door.
4 5
Three flights
5
and
minutes.
our
Tyler
origin
Chambliss.
sorry, our
I've only
departure
had to
is
use
from
Wallop
VHHH across to London Heathrow EGL.
I have talked to the
Estimated
supervisor
time
a couple
departure
times.
Is going to be
5 minutes.
BA.
I have two actually.
6 minutes.
Most likely departure
6 minutes,
will be
15 seconds to 1 up. 7 minutes. 6
landed a bit late.
8 minutes.
Depends
8
on
minutes.
how
9 minutes.
2-0. Let's go
10 minutes.
shut that in there. It's
10 minutes.
probably
19.
already
11 minutes.
flight to be
11 minutes. 12 minutes.
EFB for the
12 minutes.
performance.
21.
Usually I don't bother.
13 minutes.
Completely fine for what we need.
14.
Guys that are on
14. 15.
Cool.
15 minutes.
Fantastic. It's a little car.
15. 16.
The taxi. But yeah, definitely
16
once
minutes.
we get airborne with you.
17. 17 minutes. 17 minutes 30 seconds. 18 minutes.
Hopefully you
18.
can somewhat make it out.
18 minutes. 19 minutes. 19 minutes. 19
Alright,
minutes.
so here's
Sounds like
some.
someone's coming in on 07 right, so we'll keep an eye out for them as well.
Well, he's supposed to
Bloody
be
hell,
using VATSIM.
16,507. P3D Hong Kong.
Talk about
VHHH.
pushing
Heathrow.
far.
ETLL. VATSIM. PMDG.
Look at that,
P777.
oh,
20 minutes. 50. 21.
YouTube content
21
and just
minutes,
schedule it
52.
out
Let's
for each
see
day,
here,
so I'm
guys.
actually not
21 minutes,
missing
54
any
seconds
days
to
of
1 hour, 5
content.
minutes.
Obviously, the YouTube
Well, it says VATSIM on
22.
the on the
there,
22 minutes,
we're
50,
not
title.
gonna get to rain
But
up there.
anyways, let's
22
go
minutes,
back.
55 seconds to
Right,
1 hour.
let's get set. We're
22 minutes,
rather
52
too
seconds to
dark,
1 hour.
actually. I've still got some things to do.
16,506. VATSIM with P3.
Right, let's
6.
get set. We're up.
We'll get rid of him.
Clickable P3DV5 full flight Milan flag Italy Gatwick flag in clickable beginner VATSIM ATC. How to get started MSFSX clickable 5 months later by Jimmy's World 14 hours ago.
The best thing to tell you, I don't let you
16,000
hear it, but it's these guys. They don't. They put titles and they don't. It doesn't. They're not doing what the title says.
16,000.
The best thing to do though, just go to YouTube, type in VATSIM. There's a lot of good tutorials. So like right here, for
Clickable setting level
example,
3 link 5 months later by Jimmy's World 14 hours ago. 12 minutes. Clickable beginner VATSIM ATC.
beginner VATSIM ATC, how to get started.
Heading level 3 link minutes
Oh, yeah, that is a good
37,693 views. Clickable button action menu. Heading level 3 link. Clickable 5. Clickable P3DV 5.1 FS Labs A320. Clickable P3DV 4.2 VATSIM across the pond westbound 2018 FM departure by Chewy 94 4 year.
VATSIM across the pond. That's a big event, you guys. Let's
Yep.
see how
That
I.
is a huge.
Tyler
Let's-
Chambliss.
Let's check this out real
Something
quick.
you might want to bring up is flying in controlled airspace versus flying on Unicom and the importance of paying attention to traffic messages and your nearby aircraft dialogue in TFM.
I have never personally participated.
Yeah, we'll get to that, Tyler. We're just one step at a time here.
Bang on slot time for KLM 94 Max.
All right, so here's some VATSIM.
Click 32,000.
Oh, that's the wrong clock. Look at that.
Clickable toggle
My
button
slot
press
time
like
was
this 600 clickable toggle
11:39
click 32 heading level complimentary button clickable button mute button next button pause.
And here we go. Cross the pond 2018
Yeah,
westbound
this is
is officially underway. We're starting our clocks at 11:40 Zulu.
2018, I believe.
Absolutely spot on time.
Okay.
I wouldn't have expected any different out of Amsterdam ATC.
But this is a
Engine
busy.
page. Here we go
busy
then,
thing
folks.
here.
So have we got auto start? I don't think we do on these.
Like I said, I've never actually done this event. I've wanted to do it for
No,
a
we do.
long
I'm telling you
time,
a
and
lie.
I think at some point
I think I'm gonna do it next time.
I think I will too.
App
Oh,
Start cursor.
bugger, I forgot about the
I really
PMDG
do
bug.
wanna do that event
Oh, well, we're just going to have to put up
once.
with the master caution light for 8 hours.
Button next shift plus button mute button pause.
Oh, you're having fun? Where are you going?
So that's a little bit of VATSIM there. I'm not gonna play all that.
16,005 VATSIM online stream. VATSIM online.
Now, I believe. Let me make sure what you said, Tyler. I'm gonna look at this
Stream chat row
because
1. Clickable menu button sub the important something you might want the importance of paying attention to traffic messages and your nearby aircraft dialogue in TFM. Something you might want to
Let me
bring up
see
is flying in
something.
controlled airspace versus flying on a night command. The importance of paying attention and a night on flying on a night on and
Tyler
space, N.
Chambliss.
Oh,
I
flying
might
on,
try it come
N,
October.
N U N I
We'll
T.
see.
okay, so controlled space. If you're on VATSIM, this guy brought up, bringing up controlled space and Unicom. So it's a good point. And I was going to bring it up, but I'll go ahead and just.
What was his question?
Well, he was saying that we need to explain
Something you might want to bring up is flying in controlled airspace versus
finding controlled
Oh.
airspace versus Unicom. So,
Oh, right.
all right. So on VATSIM, you really. All right. So when you start out, you're at the airport. You turn on your radios. If there's ATC there, that is controlled airspace. Okay, that means they're going to be controlling what's coming in, what's going out, and you need to be
Now-
on that channel,
Their frequencies.
their frequency. Which starting out, you're going to be on ground. That's where you're going to be at. Starting with, I believe, yeah, it'd be ground.
Well, if it's in order, and I don't see this is not always the case. Now, keep in mind, this
No.
doesn't always happen. So
No.
if all the frequencies are available, you will go to ground clearance delivery first. Get your IFR clearance.
Yep.
You'll get that. You'll do your read back. You'll taxi to the runway, or they'll tell you to contact the tower at the runway.
Once you get clearance, once you request IFR, they're gonna
Right.
you're gonna go
They're gonna
to that runway.
hand you off to the tower. Right.
Well, after you get to the runway, they will.
Right, and then they're going to hand you off to the tower after you get to the runway. Let tower know that you're on the runway ready to take off. Once you get clearance to take off, and you are up in the air, and you're climbing out, sometimes it'll happen a little bit afterwards, sometimes you'll remain on their frequency, but if there is a
Tyler
departure-
Chambliss.
So I've seen this in
It's a
LAX
top-down
where I've
setup.
taken off,
If center's
and
online
tower
and
is
nothing
handing me over
else,
to what
center
is called
covers
SoCal
clearance,
departure.
ground, and tower for every
That's
airport in
basically
its
the
airspace.
outgoing frequency for the outbound aircraft.
Yeah. And
But
if go ahead.
If you don't have those all on at an airport, so let's say if you just have ground on or tower on and nothing else, you will tune to that frequency and you will do everything on that frequency. IFR clearance, going to runway, getting clearance for takeoff, taking off, and being on that frequency.
Same versus if you get on there and the only thing you see is tower. You don't just take off thinking, oh, well, center's not here. Don't do that.
Nope.
Sometimes all you will have is center, the main center, and that's it. So it doesn't matter if there's only one there. Let's say approach.
If there's a tower or approach or center, they do everything.
That's right. Don't ignore it. Make sure that you communicate with them. Now, something else that I want to be clear on. If you have trouble with with hearing them, message them. Do it by text.
Yep.
You can do the same
That's what I
thing.
do.
And there's a program you can do that with as well. So tell them a little more about the texting, Brandon.
So basically,
Tyler Chambliss. That's what I just said.
Like you said, if you're having trouble hearing them, send them a text. Tell them, hey, I'm having trouble hearing you. Or there is a new program. I haven't used it myself, but I plan on doing it. I can't pronounce it because it's a really weird pronunciation. But basically, it's one of these programs that basically you'll log in with it to BatSim, and you will get what is called a pre-departure clearance. So basically, they'll give you everything you need: your runway, your heading, your altitude, what your flight level is going to be, all that, and you will basically read all that, and instead of giving it back to them via voice, you will just hit a button to acknowledge that you have received the instructions, and it goes to them and says, hey, I've received these instructions, I acknowledge, and I understand them.
Yeah. It's, when you first start out with BatSim, it's a lot. And, if you make a mistake, I want you to understand that they're not just going to, they encourage you to stay connected. They don't want you to disconnect.
Yeah.
They'll tell you, hey, don't disconnect, we'll figure this out. They want you to be on there. They want you to have fun.
Good tip. When you're starting out like that, like you just said, if you're starting and it's your first few flights on BatSim, I would highly recommend in your remarks somewhere.
Tyler Chambliss.
Tell the controllers,
I found
hey,
with
I'm a new pilot,
CPDLC
I'm
it's
starting
only
out,
used for
this is
events.
my first flight on BatSim,
Most controllers will still
and
give
they'll
you a
understand.
pre-departure
I did
clearance
that when
through
I
standard
started,
VATSIM messages.
and it helped me a lot, and I think it helps out the controllers so they're not automatically going, oh god.
Tyler said I found with
Click options tooltip.
CPDLC, it's usually only for, well, no, I've seen it without events. I've seen full, I've seen ground. I've seen tower. I've seen all of them on without events.
I've seen them all without events.
Yeah, I have too. It's not.
I've seen them at LAX.
Yeah, they're going to be all of them on for an event, but it depends on where you're flying. There's some airports where they're there a lot. So
I
go
will
ahead,
say, and I don't think you brought this up either, but I will say about that system with just texting them. Don't just rely on that. Always keep your skills for voice communication up to par as well, so that if you have an issue where you can't text them, you can have that backup of your voice and say, hey, I can still communicate. I know what you're saying. I can give
Three
you
apps are using your microphone tooltip.
I can do what you need me to do, and I can acknowledge your instructions.
yeah, and you don't want to make it a habit of just texting, but if for some reason you have a condition where that's the only way you can fly, by all means just text. It's not going to,
Absolutely.
They're not going to stir you away. But point is though, if you can talk and if you can hear them, starting out, some of you guys it's just going to sound like gibberish to you. But the more you listen, the easier it's going to get. Here's another tip for you on BatSim.
Tyler Chambliss.
Connect to BatSim.
Yeah, don't even think about using text as your only method of communication. You will experience hell that way.
No, you won't experience hell that way, Tyler. That's not true. that they've got a program for text now. So they've actually got a program for it. He said if you only depend on text alone, you'll catch hell for it. But that's not. No, it's not.
Just log on to the server. Just join channel to hang out.
They're not gonna be like, oh, you're only texting, get off here. They'll never tell you that. So no, I don't know. Maybe you had a bad experience, but that's incorrect. That's not true. Bring John. Tell him we're streaming first that way, and then bring him in.
Just left channel to hang out. Just join channel.
So anyway,
Hey, we're on a
I have seen people use text because that was their only option more than once, and they've never been,
They've never been kicked off.
They've never been given a hard time about it. Period. You must have just had a bad experience, and if you was given a hard time about it, then you should have been talking to a supervisor about it, because there's no rule in VATSIM that says you can't do only text. There's a program you can even use now to do that. So
there's an option in vPilot to only transmit text.
Yeah. So
Tyler Chambliss. No, I mean you'll experience hell because you'll be trying to text wheelie operating the plane, and it's annoying, at least for me.
He says, no, I mean you'll be experiencing hell because you'll be trying to text and operate the plane at the same time. It's really not that bad.
No, it's not.
It's not that bad.
Because you got to figure, they know you're in that cockpit and they know you're flying. So if it takes you a couple minutes, they're going to be okay with that. As long as you let them know, hey, my only way to get this is my way of communicating. I've got to take the controls for a minute. I'll get back with you just in a second once I get up in the air and get to a cruising altitude, whether that be 5,000 feet. Just, even if you got to go up and just cruise for a minute at 5,000 just to be able to, there's options.
I do text a lot on Unicom because, believe it or not, when you text on Unicom, it has a better range over voice. Voice is like 15 miles, and text is like, I don't know, over 4.
Well, and there's...
I remember...
I don't have it in front of me, but there's an actual program now for texting too.
CPLDLC, which apparently that only works. That only works on certain areas, like if the controllers. Some controllers are using it. I kind of hope someday all controllers will have to be required to at least have it available, so that if for whatever reason you want to use it, you can.
And if they don't have it, it's not a big deal. Just go over to go to the VATSIM and text there.
Yeah.
But to practice, here's the thing. Practice is what I was going to say is get on VATSIM, log on as a what's
observer.
it called? Observer, and just sit there and listen. You can even fly along beside somebody if you want to see what it's like, doing ATC as you go to another airport. If maybe you meet their pilot and just say, hey, message them, say, hey, you mind if I, fly along? Some pilots might be like, yeah, this is where I'm going. I've seen it. So, where a pilot literally gave this other guy the information where he's flying to, and he waited for him. He said, I'm going to wait for you. I know you're new. I'm going to wait for you. Let me know when you're ready, and then we'll take off. So, because the pilot even told ATC that he was waiting on an observer to get their stuff set up to fly along. So, they want to help you. ATC wants to help you, and a lot of pilots want to help you. That's
observer mode, if you want to just go and chill and listen, and you don't really want to have the pressure of, sometimes I'll do 2020 flights and just connect as an observer and just chill listening to the VATSIM traffic around me.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. So it's just all about you guys take your time and on VATSIM, the website, there's all kinds of stuff there you can read up on and learn about. Lots of stuff.
I gotta say, as far as Unicom texting goes, like, I've been on flights where I've run into rough weather, and I have texted pilots on Unicom, and I've said, hey, if you're going from this place to this place, be aware there's some bad weather, there's thunderstorms, there's wind, and pilots have thanked me for doing that for them.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's being helpful. Now the thing is, though, and anybody new needs to know this, don't just start carrying conversations over the radio,
No.
because you will get in trouble.
No.
Now, you can privately message a pilot and communicate with them as much as you want. Y'all can talk for an hour that way.
Tyler
But-
Chambliss.
Yep.
Yeah, sitting at a gate in MSFS 20 and listening to VATSIM on exterior view is a nice time waster.
I've actually had
LOL.
a few private message me asking how I fly.
Yeah, I think that the more people you communicate with when you're on VATSIM, whether it's pilots, ATC, the better it is for everyone. It's good for you, but it's also good for ATC. They might learn something new from you. So
Especially if you have conditions like we do, visual impairments, where they might not know, hey, how do we work with them? And you can be one of their pilots and help them train in how to work with us.
So now we've talked about being at the airport. We've talked about doing pushbacks. We've talked about communication. We talked about, requesting, IFR clearance. Now we're going to talk about while you're in there and you're going through different
Stages.
airspaces. Okay, some airspace you go through, you might talk to ATC for 20 minutes. I've been through areas where I've had them for an hour. So
I had
let's
to.
let's explain that a little bit to them on exactly what I'm talking about there. I'm going to throw the ball at Josh for a minute. Brandon, you can kick in too and explain some, and then I'll be back with you guys here in a minute.
Alright, you want to take that one, Josh?
Okay, so the way that ATC airspace works, at least in VATSIM, and this is was explained to me by the president of the VATSIM US, is they use what's called a top-down approach, which means that whichever ATC that is currently online, currently serving that area, is pretty much going to serve almost that entire area. Now, most of the time, it doesn't work like that in real life. In real life, there's ATC airspace is completely different. A lot of times it's a lot smaller. Different controllers handle different regions. Because regions in a flight sim are different, so it's a whole. I mean, we could probably talk about that all day long, but
So for example, if you had, say, if you're going through, and I've seen this, I've flown through
Minneapolis,
this
for
thing, too.
example.
So, like, if you do Minneapolis or Indianapolis or Atlanta or Boston, you'll have different centers dedicated to those regions. And I've been on those centers for 1-2 hours at the most.
Yeah, I think the biggest center by far is probably Atlanta,
By far.
Los Angeles,
LAX, Atlanta.
Indianapolis is pretty big.
Indianapolis is pretty big too, because I've gotten them several times.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a bit. I mean, I wonder if someday they can maybe make it mirror real life a bit better.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't think
Now,
I don't think that they will, because
I'm going to bring something
the
up
ATC controllers are too
that
too small.
Someone tried to tell me this doesn't happen on VATSIM, and I'm going to tell you right now, yes, it does. I can't remember where I was flying, but I was flying somewhere, and these guys came on, and they directed me completely around their airspace. It was completely restricted. They made me go around it. Because here's why. If you're flying, guys, I'm being dead serious on this, and you need to take it as serious as you can. If you're flying on VATSIM, and there is a event with other simmers that are doing military stuff.
Oh yeah, the military. They have military organizations that simulate.
I'm going to tell you right now, they are priority.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they will tell you, go to heading set. Now, usually what will happen is if you've got ATC you're already in communication with, they're the ones, they'll just direct you around, and you might not even know there's even controlled airs, you might not even know it. I know it because I was flying through, and it was actually kind of cool because because I got a little bit of vision, so I actually went into that space, not purposely. What had happened was the ATC controller that was running that event with the military stuff was having trouble getting out to people. And he said, it's not your fault. I explained to him. But looking out my cockpit, I had a fighter. There was 2 or 3 pilots, and I guess they were just doing it for fun, not a big deal.
Yeah.
They said that it gave them really good practice for me doing that because 3 pilots got around me, 1 on each side of me and 1 behind me. And they wasn't in regular airplanes, folks. They were in fighter jets.
Doing an escort.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yep. It was really, really cool.
That is.
I'll never forget it.
I actually went to
experienced
it's
that.
called like VAT orgs or something. Basically, what it is you have your civilian pilot organizations that we're a part of. Then you got these military ones with I went to look at what the requirements were, and they're like, oh yeah, you must know how to fly SID stars, poaches, all that perfectly, and then we'll show you all the military maneuvers and all that stuff. That's the kind of stuff that they do.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really cool. And you hear them talking. And now, I will say this: there are people that do that really are not a part of the Air Force, but there are people that do it that are a part of Air Force or was part of Air Force because they love flying. They love the Air Force that much that they continue to do it, even just for fun. But the guy came across and he said,
former Air Force pilot.
At the time, my ID. Remember when I was U.S. I forget what the airport was I was flying for a while back.
Yeah.
But anyway, they was like US 228. You are being directed by the Air Force One. Blah blah. I was like, what? I thought the dude was messing with me. I'm like, okay, somebody jerking my chain. Next thing I know, I look out,
pulling a joke on
and I knew it wasn't George. He wasn't on there. But I look out to the front of me, and I seen smoke, flaring from the back of a jet. And I panned to the left, looked out my left side, and there comes a jet black fighter jet. Then I looked to the right, and there was another one. And the guy comes on and says, "You are being escorted out of the restricted airspace. Do not leave us." And then he said something about how there was another jet that was going to be on my tail. Until I was like, this is bad because, guys, at the time, I had damages turned on. So you know what that means, don't you?
Yeah.
They could have.
Yeah.
They could have fired my ass up
messed you
quicker
up.
than a mosquito. Well, yeah.
Well, they
Boy, I
probably
bet that freaked
couldn't
you out a
fire.
bit.
I probably couldn't actually fire on because they were probably in a different sim. They were in DCS World, which is a combat sim. Like if they
Well, they
fired.
could have ran.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can still.
It doesn't
You can
matter.
still fight. They can still fire their. If they can see you, dude, they can hit you. It's no different than
Yeah.
if they can run into you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh,
because
I bet that gave you a little
P3D,
scare.
if you go down through P3D,
Yeah, it's got.
it's
weapons
got
and stuff,
weapons and stuff on it. So, I mean, I don't want to find out. I'm not going to be like, hey, man, will you shoot me so I can see if it actually works? I don't want to do that.
Yeah, we're not gonna pull what me and Brandon did on a certain game.
No.
Yeah.
But it was
No,
really
we're
cool.
not gonna do that.
I mean, the way they... You could tell, though, it probably in real life, these guys were probably military by the way they were, just the way they talked. And it was a lot of fun, though.
Yeah.
But the point is this, back to my point that if you come across restricted airspace, guys, don't ignore it.
Yeah.
Now, what do you do if there's restricted airspace, but there's no ATC for the civilian side? Well, that can be tricky, but if nobody contacts you at all, keep going, because you don't know where to go.
Yeah.
Just keep, do your best and keep going. If nobody said anything to you, but for some reason you remember the area being restricted, just keep going. And then if you're in the middle and someone does come on and say, sorry about that, I no one contacted me, I didn't know what to do, I'm sure they're not going to throw a big fit. But the point is, everybody takes that sim serious, and they also take the airspace serious. So that's, always listen to what they're telling you, especially when it's
I myself have
the
never
controllers.
run into that restricted airspace
All right.
stuff yet.
Well, you never know. All right, so we've covered taking off. We've covered doing pushback, all that stuff. We've covered, flying through different airspaces. Now we're going to talk about your approach. And what do we do with approach? How does it work? We will start with Josh again and go around. Josh, when you're coming up on approach, let's say you're 20 miles before your approach, what do we do with ATC?
Well, ATC will usually, give us an approach and expected runway, and usually, we will already have that programmed in for the most part. If they're not changing it on us, so we just read it back, and then usually we descend because they're going to give you a star. They're going to give you a star. You're probably already descending on your arrival.
Yeah. Let's go back a minute. What I'm saying
Yeah.
is before that part. I'm talking about when you're flying and you got to key up and say such and such with you at such and such altitude. Start from that point.
Oh, okay.
Forward.
Yeah, so you're gonna usually be on your center that's gonna be responsible for handling your arrival and approach.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get on to the center. At some point in time, they're gonna tell you descend via the Dark
Descend
4
via the
arrival.
whatever arrival.
Expect ILS approach runway 36 right or something like that, and then you have to read that back. Descending via the Dark 4 arrival.
How
ILS
important is
Wait,
callback,
right.
Josh? How important
It's-
is it that I repeat what you tell me?
it's-
If you're if you're
it's
ATC
very
and you
important.
say BVI 118, you're going to descend via Jam 1 or whatever. Like, what if I don't repeat that and just say, okay, I'm going to descend?
well,
And I've seen that.
well,
And I've seen that happen
yeah,
too.
yeah.
So what happens?
I mean, you're gonna get, you're
You're
gonna
gonna get
get
yelled at by
corrected at,
ATC.
and they're gonna, they want to make sure that, you have that you've copied their instructions. They want to make sure that what they said, is going to be followed, and they want to make sure that you actually.
But what if I only caught half of it? What do I do? What if I didn't hear them?
Then you say,
Ask 'em to repeat it.
can you repeat that, please? I missed something.
Okay. I just wanted to add that in there so you guys know how important that is. Now go ahead and continue them about, the runway, and also talk about, go-arounds and such if needed, what they need to do with that.
Yeah, that I haven't done go-arounds yet. That's him. But, I know that.
I haven't neither. I've never done a go-around neither, so.
Yeah, I mean, if they say, go around, you'll put your gear, your flaps up. You'll go to
Usually 3,000, 4,000 feet.
Three, yeah. And then, well, I don't know what you would have done with Tramp, but I know with PMDG, you'll wait till you get to your holding, and then wait for further instructions.
Yeah.
You either say if you're doing the go around, and you have to say to ATC, missed approach at Denver or whatever.
Yeah.
And they'll
if for some reason that, let's say you're at 2,500 feet and you're coming in, you guys, and let's just say for whatever reason you're either really nervous and you feel like, oh, I need more time. I need a minute here. Well, guess what? There is no time when you're doing a descent. You've only got so much time.
Nope.
So either that's going to be enough time for you, or you need to contact ATC and say, listen, I'm going to do a missed approach here. I'm going to go up to 8,000 and hold for a minute, or whatever. If you communicate with them what you're wanting to do. So, I'm going to do missed approach. Can I request altitude change of 8,000 feet and hold, or whatever? They'll tell you if you can or not. If you want to hold somewhere, because I've done it.
And they'll also tell you if you have, like, if you don't request a missed approach, they will tell you to go around if it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah. If you come in, and that's the other thing, if you're coming in and it looks bad to the ATC controller, and you don't realize that maybe you're off, maybe you're too far left, you're not on the ILS fully, and you're too far left or too far right, or you're coming in too high, they're going to come in and they're going to tell you, such and such, change altitude to blah, 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 yada, 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 and then, I've had them do it with me. When, back in the day, when our program would just stop.
Yeah.
It wouldn't do nothing. Do you guys remember? Well, I'll talk about that in a minute. But anyway, that's how that works. Now,
well, we remember a lot of things.
When you're on your final and you land, as soon as your tires touch the runway, what is the most important thing that they need to do?
Reverse.
Well, not that. No, I mean, they know how to fly. No. You guys aren't following me on this. I hope they know how to do reverse thrust. I'm saying when they're on the ground, as soon as they land, what is one of the important things that they need to do because of other traffic? I mean, they might have people behind them. So what do they need to do?
Oh, yeah, get clear of the runway.
Get clear of the runway, but for us,
we can't do that.
That just means disconnect.
So just tell ATC, thanks everyone, have a good night, signing off. Bloop, disconnect.
Yep.
Don't fadiddle around on the runway. I've seen people do it. It doesn't matter, you guys. If you have it and you say, well, I don't have damage turned on anyways, it doesn't matter. You're still interfering with them, and when they land, they're going to go right through your airplane. It's going to make a noise. It don't mess you up. But what if they have damage
It'll
on?
mess them up.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's going to mess them up. So please respect the planes that are in the air that are coming in behind you. Because,
I don't like how prepared handles damages like when they're on, because it will actually just reset your flight instead of like I don't know the way
Yeah.
2020 does, where it's like, oh, game over. P2D will just reset you back to your departure.
I kinda-
jarring.
On both of them, I don't like it. I don't like it the fact that as soon as you crash, like it don't even do effects of like, you know, like George said, if I crash, don't just instantly end my game and take me back to the menu. Like,
Yeah.
do a little bit of some effects there of crashing, not not the full
Exactly.
simulation of it, but it'd be better than what P3D
Yeah.
does and 2020.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so we got through the VAT sim, you guys. I just hope that the stuff about VAT sim will help you. I hope that you take what we've been sharing with you. I hope it helps you out. I hope you take it serious. I hope that you can enjoy simming and flying and having fun online with VAT sim. It's a lot of fun. Sometimes it can be overwhelming. I get it.
Yep.
I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. For example, before we change the topic here, I was on VatSim today, and I couldn't remember with the PMDG, because I've never ran into the situation before with ATC. I'm getting ready to go. My descent's in 10 miles, so I'm getting ready to start my descent, and ATC comes on, and they tell me an altitude to descend to. So I didn't know the full steps on how to do that, and then also continue my
You would go put your descent altitude in, and then go to on the descent page. Hopefully you're in the 7.3 because I don't know what it is in like.
Yeah, 7.3. Yeah, 7.3.
In the 7.3, there's an option that says des now or descend now, and basically what that will do is it will start your descent like now, and then it will start following the descent path when you get when 10 miles.
So do I put the altitude in the altitude box, like with
Yeah.
right bracket Shift A, and then go to Alt D, and do descent now,
Mm-hmm.
and that'd take me to that descent. But then what do I do? Well, I guess I'll wait and see what ATC says, because they're probably going to continue to give me altitudes, more likely.
Yeah, so you just
Because they didn't change my heading. They just said change your descent to,
Change your altitude.
I didn't know what to do. And again, guys, I've been flying on VatSim for a while, so that just goes to show that it doesn't matter that if you don't know how to do something.
Traffic. It was probably traffic they were trying to
Yeah.
get you to
Yeah.
avoid.
But the point is, I've been VatSimming for quite a while. I've VatSim with Brandon, and I've been on VatSim with Josh. They'll tell you, I know what I'm doing. I know how to talk to them. I know how to to do a descent. But this time I didn't, and I admitted it. I didn't say, "Oh, I'm perfect. I don't mess. I can do it all without no help." No, I can't.
I mean, did they
No
help
one's
you?
perfect.
Did they help you, or did you just?
No, I went ahead and exited because I was having some network issues.
But yeah, I think that's how you solve that situation with the descend now feature of this PMDG.
And I gotta say, as far as that whole reading back instructions when you do your descent on the arrival, I have actually literally heard several times on VatSim when a pilot has gotten an instruction, I've literally heard him say "okay" and not even give.
I mean,
the readback.
the thing is, nobody's
Why would you do
perfect.
that?
Nobody's expected to be perfect, but I would rather be
No.
that guy that when I mess up, I'm not scared to say, "Hey guys,
I messed up.
I flugged up." Okay?
Yep.
Because you're going to get a lot further in the simming community by, having an attitude like that instead of the attitude that, "I'm perfect. I'd never do that. I ain't never done that crap before. What an idiot. Who would do that?" Come on. Seriously.
Yeah, I've seen that, unfortunately.
All right, so the next thing
It's maddening when people do that.
So, a little bit of a fun chat here. My gosh, I can hear all kinds of things that's happened. Remember when the Sims would just stop if you didn't
Yes.
pick it up, if you didn't do your descent, and as soon as you go past the airport, it would
Your
just
autopilot shuts
Well,
off.
it's not just past the airport. It was actually whenever your flight plan ended.
yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
Tramp would just assume that you were landing.
That was horrible, you
I
guys.
had that happen to me. Yeah,
Um,
it was horrible.
And
especially
when
you
that
were trying to
happened, you
land.
had to just do the flight over. There was
I
no
mean-
other choice.
Well, apparently now people have figured out that as soon as you start getting vectors on VATSIM, you just turn off flight plan and just do TFM. Like just turn off flight plan, do vectors, and do your altitudes with TFM, and it'll be a lot better. You'll be a lot better off.
Well, yeah,
I haven't
but
had many
you.
a flight where that
How
happened.
can you land without? How would you be able to land with only
How can you
TFM?
land without Tramp?
Well,
Yeah.
well, it's not. It's not. You'd be on approach/final by that point. So they'll be vectoring you to the ILS or whatever the case.
Oh,
and then-
yeah, they're going to line you up with ILS. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. If it was in our nav, then yeah, you can have to use I guess what you do is you wait until you turn off flight plan, wait until you get vector to the final approach fix, and then
Mhm.
turn tram back on again, and hopefully it'll land.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember the biggest event I did, the Boston event, where that exact thing actually happened to me when I was coming in for that landing, because it had thought it had reached the end of my flight. Not only did autopilot and everything else turn off, but right as I was coming in, I run out of fuel because I didn't get any instruction from ATC that day because it was so busy and the weather was so bad that day. It was horrible going in
Yeah.
that day to Logan.
Yeah.
My
Yeah, I
goodness.
mean, based on how the
Sylvia's
PMDD
iPhone 11 logged
works,
onto
I
the
would
server. Sylvia's
seriously
iPhone 11 joined channel root.
I'd caution using it on VATSIM because sometimes, like if you don't know the scenarios at which you can get caught with Tramp, you can make yourself look really bad.
Oh yeah, I've been on an oceanic before and caught the tail end of a hurricane. And let me tell you what, free weather or not, that was a rough flight for about an hour. I was having to continue going between manual and autopilot because it was so rough. And ATC actually, I'm communicating with someone on ATC, and they messaged me and I told them what's going on. They said just stay at this heading and do what you got to do to keep your plane up out of the water and get back
Oh,
when
my
you're
goodness.
out of this rough stuff, because it was bad. The winds were like I think the wind
Sylvia's
was
iPhone
at
11 left channel root. Sylvia's iPhone 11 logged onto
180
the server.
180 knots was the wind, almost
Whoa.
200 knots, and it was like it would just throw me all over the place. It was hitting me so hard it would take my heading from like heading 20 to heading 130. Like it almost spin me in a circle. Like it was bad.
Wow.
It was some bad
Sim
That
weather.
root
is
downloader right
bad.
click for options tooltip.
But anyway, this video I'm hoping that you guys will take advantage of what we've talked about. And we're it's not just VATSIM, it's in general, what to do and what not to do. And I think another important thing to know is don't be Mr. Mrs. I know everything and I'm better than you in the pilot
Oh,
community.
that just gets
Don't
on my nerves.
don't be that person. Don't come in with that attitude. I don't care if you've grown up around pilots. I don't care if you were in the military. I don't care what it is that you've done. I'm just going to tell you, you come in with that attitude, and you're going to have a very short
very
circle
far.
of people that
3 apps are using your microphone tooltip.
will want to hang out with you. Besides VATSIM, is there anything else you guys can think of that would, one, make someone a bad simmer / pilot, or that makes him a better pilot / simming. This whole live stream is intended on helping beginners to better understand the do's and the don'ts.
I would just say definitely I agree with you. Don't come in with an attitude of I know everything and I'm better than you, because unfortunately we've had a few instances like that with a few that said, well,
Now,
I read from flight manuals and I know
if you
everything.
guys join some,
No.
there's a lot of airlines out there. If you go to FS Airlines, you can look up all kinds of different virtual airlines that you can join. But there's a pilot out there by the name of Brandon Armstrong. Do not hang out with him, because he is nothing but trouble.
I knew that
Don't
was
listen
coming.
to him.
This guy couldn't. This guy could not fly a paper box, let alone a jet. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding, dude. But no, I mean, the idea is to have fun. That it's about having fun. But something that I do want to say is, I do know some real pilots, and they use the simming world for one, practice, number two, even training, or number three, they're off work right now, so they'll get in the sim, and they take it very serious. So I would rather you not come across these people the wrong way, because then you could be ruining a good resource. So.
And I was going to say, if you happen to know of a real pilot around, and if they have time, and if you want to
We'd love to have you.
tips and tricks for taking off, definitely. Well, I was going to say, you can also,
Oh, well, yeah.
if you are fortunate to know one, ask them. Say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Can you give me some tips on how to improve this, such as takeoff?
Yeah. And, if there's real pilots out there and you like helping other people, we would love to, also connect
Absolutely.
with, pilots and maybe learn something that could help us.
Maybe there's something we don't.
I know of one pilot that is a really good friend of mine, but he just doesn't have time to get on here, and hopefully that changes here soon. But he's helped us out a lot too, just by giving little pointers,
Little
or
tips.
watching
and they've helped
videos
us
and saying,
immensely.
"Hey, don't do what the hell are you guys doing? Don't do that."
Yeah.
I remember someone that would try to use a spoiler while trying to take off, and my friend is just like, "What is he doing? Why is he putting the spoiler out on takeoff? He might have a lot better chance of climbing and taking off without that spoiler all the way out." Like, what?
Didn't someone once say that you don't need to put the gear down when you take off? That it was perfectly fine at 31,000 feet or something like that.
Oh yeah, that you can just take off and leave your gear down and just
You can
fly
take
around.
off and leave your gear
Guys,
down.
the reason I didn't talk about this, because I really would think everybody has enough common sense. But just let me say this: if you are flying a plane and that gear is movable, meaning it can go up and down, as soon as the tires come off the ground, put the daggone
Put that
wheels
gear
up. Because if you don't, well, have fun when you get past about 10,000. Have fun with that.
Oh yeah.
And also have fun with the amount of fuel that you're going to burn climbing with that weight underneath of you pulling you down.
Mhm.
So, good point, Josh. Glad you brought that up. I do want to thank you guys for checking out the live stream. Again, if you ever got questions, you can always contact us. There'll be contact info in the description. And maybe if you ever want to fly and join an airline, be sure to check out BVI Pilots. And yeah, I'm sure someone within the community can help you out. That's probably going to be all I got for tonight.
Online stream 16, ops 27.
I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to add.
Stop streaming checkbox
I
checked.
don't have anything.
But I think it was a good video. I think this was a good video. I enjoyed talking about VATSIM. I know it was based on more than just VATSIM, but I think this is stuff that needs to be out there as much as possible. So, you guys follow us on Twitter at BVI Pilots. That is at Bravo Victor India Pilots. You can also, again, subscribe to the channel. Tap on that subscribe button. If you've yet subscribed, also set your notifications by clicking on the notifications and setting it to always so that you're notified each and every time that we publish a video here on BVI Pilots. Until next time, stay safe. Blue skies, always up, not down. If so, I want to hear about that story. We all do. Y'all have a good one. You ain't kidding. Well, you are definitely not kidding. I think tomorrow we'll do a live stream, and we're going to talk about some of the funniest moments and some of the most serious moments of our flying history. So you don't want to miss that.
You got a lot of funny ones.
Tune in tomorrow.
We got a lot of funny ones.
Tune in to the channel tomorrow around 8 o'clock, 8 or 9 o'clock, or just be watching your notifications because we've got more stories coming for you.